Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome into the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. I am Eric Kane alongside Grant Ramey, Brent Hubbs, and Austin Price. A busy time. Tennessee's got players coming and going via the transfer portal. As always, during portal season, it can change in 5 minutes. So, time of this recording, this is the updated knowledge that we have at the time of this recording right now. So, a little disclaimer out there. A lot of questions, obviously, about the transfer portal, some bigger picture stuff as well. Let's jump in and let's start with a question from Jack RG22. Percentages, LOL, for the 2026 quarterback. He had Ty Simpson in this. We took him out because Ty Simpson is going pro. But George McIntyre, Faizon Brandon, Joey Aguilar, or the field, AP, since this is your specialty, give us some percentages here.
I'm fascinated, AP. I'm gonna sit back and soak this all in. Go for it.
Let's say you said there's 4 options, right?
Three and then the field.
Yeah, so 25, 25, 25, and 25. I mean, like, there's no. I mean, listen.
Well played.
I would take Aguilar or the field before I took, McIntyre or Faizon at this current moment. Now, that can change. That can absolutely change. But that's kind of where I'm at. You got to let this play. It's kind of like the gnashing of teeth. I get the people that are, bewildered by the start to the portal, but you let it play out. You let it. It's kind of like I said in recruiting a few years ago. Just let it play out. If it still is like this come the end of the portal, then you have every right reason to just go bananas and lose your mind. Let it play out, because what's going to happen for some of them on the general quarters or wherever else, Twitter or wherever, is when you emotionally tweet or emotionally post, if things flip around, then it's going to get used against you. So just sit back, watch it, and see what happens. Same thing with the quarterback. Like, Levitt arrived Wednesday, here today, we'll leave later. Let it play out. We'll see what happens with that. We'll see what happens with anybody else that potentially could go in the portal. And we'll see what happens at the quarterback spot. And then we're all sitting around waiting on some judge, wherever he's at, to drop the gavel and make a ruling on the Joey Aguilar, all the Diego Pavia, whatever extra years of eligibility case. So just let it play out. I wish I could give you a better percentages. I just can't. I just think it's too early to have a real feel for what's going to happen.
I mean, Hubbs said that he hired you way back when to do percentages, and you're not even doing it. It's incredible.
I'm disappointed there's no decimal points in there. I think you said it. I think you said it really well, Austin. And I think that's not what people want to hear, because we want all of us want a black and white answer on things, right, Grant? I mean, you just want to know, like, yes, no, and that's indifferent. But the reality in the world that we live in, and the portal stuff and how fast it changes, there's nothing definitive at this point until, I mean, heck, Washington thought their quarterback was definitive, and maybe that's not even definitive after signing a deal. So it's just really hard to see what that's going to look like and how it's all going to change.
That's the irony of a mailbag podcast, when all the questions that are going to be asked are extremely difficult to answer, because who knows what the answer is going to be. And that's the problem, that when you do percentages and all this stuff, it's like, well, AP said it was 45% on Wednesday. What happened to that? Well, that was a guess. Like, we're trying our best here.
Well, I mean, a first perfect example is like, the 2 kids from Alabama, right? I would have told you early in the week, and I said it on the Monday night chat, no chances of Russaw and at that point Smith was not in the portal, but the chances of them were very small. Like I said, like 3% or whatever. I was just throwing out some silly low number. And then Trigg goes to Texas Tech. Actually, there's no point to go through, but everybody goes to Texas Tech, and then things change, right? I mean, Rodney gets on the phone with some people, and Tennessee gets on the phone with more people, and all of a sudden those become more realistic. So again, it's all real time. Like, it's, you can, there are plenty of times where you think, okay, that kid's definitely coming, and then something changes and then they don't, or vice versa.
Yeah. I mean, look at Sam Levitt. I mean, Sam Levitt's he's been penciled in by a bunch of people to Kentucky, right? He's been penciled in by a bunch of people to LSU. He wasn't mentioned with Tennessee until AP, had that on Tuesday night. Some people still think he's waiting on Oregon. I mean, that guy's been locked in for everywhere throughout this process, and he's not done anything wrong. It's not like, I mean, he's just going through the process, seeing what his best options are out there. But that changes all the time.
I think he's waiting on Oregon. I think he's waiting on Dante Moore to say I'm going pro, and then he gets to go home. That's what I think. But again, like if you're Tennessee, it's like the whole scuttle about Ty Simpson. Like, sure, Tennessee would have loved to have had a shot at Ty Simpson had he decided to stay in school. But they couldn't just sit around with all their eggs in that potential basket. That would make no sense. So they've been talking to Sam Levitt for over a week now. And they got him pegged in here for a visit. He's here, and we go from there.
What's funny or maybe frustrating or infuriating is it feels like half the portal kids commit 15 minutes into their first visit, and the other ones take 17 visits. And there's like no in between. Like.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Going back to what Grant said a moment ago about doing the best you can, I think a lot of people can appreciate this. If you're watching on YouTube, I mean, we all got stuff going on. We got families, this, that going on. I mean, there's visitors going trying to talk to kids. I mean, things change all the time. But if you're watching on YouTube, AP's muting it every 5-10 seconds because he's got a text, he's got a call, and all this. It's really kind of cool seeing how it plays out in real time, or at least when this is being recorded right now. So we'll see if something big happens. Obviously, we'll come back with a note, but it's just kind of fun to watch it play out this way. Let's go to MiamiJoe. Idris Farooq, is he a starter next year? I think the easy answer is absolutely right now. If Tennessee gets a couple more safeties, we'll see. Tennessee's got some work to do in the secondary, like it's got some work to do on the defensive line.
I think on the head.
Yeah, I think you said it exactly right. It depends on who's here, and it depends on how well Farooq adapts to the system that Jim Knowles is putting in place. So, I mean, I don't think anything's locked in at this point. With his experience, you would say sure, but it's a brand new defense. It's a brand new set of coaches, and Tennessee's obviously working hard to try to get some safety help into the program. And they're not bringing safety help in, Grant, for just a warm body in case they need somebody. I mean, these guys they're bringing in or are trying to bring in are going to be experienced guys that you would think would come in and play or certainly compete to be the guy.
I mean, I agree with that. I don't think Ed Reeves would be the worst option. Am I crazy thinking that? I felt like
I think no matter what,
made progress.
No matter what, no matter who they bring in, I mean, there's going to be a competition there for sure. It's not.
I mean, there were a lot of times where he looked like a first-year starter and a guy that was learning on the fly still, but I felt like he got better as the season went on. Maybe that's just selective memory on my part.
You know what I like about Idris Farooq? 4 forced fumbles, and they were all like massive when they happened.
They were.
Dude comes in there and tries to get that football. Brent Hubbs, have you heard any names about a strength and conditioning coach?
That's a great question. I don't want to say Josh Heupel's put it on the back burner because I don't think that's fair to say, but I do think there's portal things to get done in the window because decisions are being made, real time there. And you never know who Josh Heupel, who all he wants to talk to. Is somebody still working right now? Is there an assistant in the NFL that he's got interest in speaking with that's not available at this point? Is there a college assistant? Is there a college head coach, strength coach somewhere that's still, working? I mean, I think that's got to be done, AP, a week from now, week and a half from now? I mean, it needs to be done when players get back to town on January the 20th. So that's 12 days, something like that. I mean, I think you're going to have some movement, need to have some movement in that as early as maybe next week. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, one would think unless, you're going to go over there and put some pillows under your shirt and look like a bulky guy and you lead them. I mean, that has to happen, I wouldn't say sooner rather than later, but I mean, I think, you're looking at, 8-9 days, you've got to have some.
I don't think you can bring your team back and start your off-season program without a strength coach.
I agree. Now, I mean, could you survive 1 to 2 days?
Sure.
Potentially.
If you knew who you were going to get, yeah. And you had to wait on somebody, sure. I mean, whenever you hire somebody you really want to hire, if you have to wait on them a little bit before they arrive, then you do that and you get through it because you really want that person and you'll wait on that person if you feel like that person's the absolute fit for whatever position you're filling and whatever profession you're in.
District Vol's got a couple of questions, and again, up to the information we have now at the time of this recording. AP, you spoke on the Alabama kids a moment ago, but what is Tennessee like, the interest level, trying to get these guys to campus with Russaw and Smith at this point in time?
Well, the goal is to get them here Sunday. That's when they're penciled in to visit. Again, they're going to take more visits before Tennessee, so you'll have to survive those. Ohio State is one. I think Missouri is another, and I forget the other one. But either way, the plan is to get them here for a visit starting Sunday. Now, based off of their timeline and their taking of visits, if Tennessee can survive those, it sounds like Tennessee would get the last shot. Now, again, in this stuff, you don't want the last shot unless, as Grant pointed out astutely earlier, you're on one of those treks where they either visit 1 or visit 50. And so, like, you want the last shot, in my opinion, if they're going to get to you, obviously. If they get to you, you got a real shot with those kids from Alabama. Either way, Tennessee obviously would like to get Xavier Gilliam in the boat. As of this recording on Wednesday, he had yet to do anything. All the momentum was with Tennessee. Everything was trending really well there with Tennessee as of Wednesday. And then they've got the kid from Pittsburgh in here, the defensive lineman. They're going to be his first visit. So again, maybe Tennessee can put the little squeeze and keep him from taking that Notre Dame visit, which is scheduled for the 8th.
Two questions on this. Number one, you mentioned the teams involved for the Alabama guys. I know you mentioned before Ohio State was going to be a big player for Smith because they were coming out of high school. These two guys were high school teammates. Are they doing a package deal? Are they going to all these places together, or were those teams for one of those players specifically?
It certainly feels that way, Eric. Now, I know they say the right things, like we don't have to play together. But they've been saying that since high school, and yet they always play together. They all play for the same little training group down there in Montgomery, and so it certainly feels like they're a package deal. And again, one's an outside guy, one's an inside guy. One has a little more experience than the other at this point.
And then to Gilliam, and with the Penn State's defensive lineman that's in today, feels like it's Notre Dame Tennessee battle for both of those. Of course, Tennessee would take both of those in a heartbeat, but does it feel like the biggest competition for both those guys is Notre Dame at this point in time? Is Indiana still a factor for Gilliam?
I don't believe so. I think that they're out. I think it's Tennessee, Notre Dame. I think Tennessee's all the traction for him. You referenced the Pittsburgh lineman.
Yes.
That's in town today.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but yes, that's another Tennessee. Again, Notre Dame has missed on a few D linemen, much like Tennessee, because again, Texas Tech was getting everybody, and so everybody's feeling the same pain, the same pressure, and to land these kids that are good players that are still in the portal.
Here's an interesting question. Grant, Brent, you chime in first. Which defensive player do you guys think will benefit the most from the new staff and new scheme? It doesn't have to be a breakout player, but just a guy that's going to benefit from this new situation of circumstances.
I got one in my mind.
I got one in my mind.
Go for it, Grant.
Christian Gass. Who else is going to rush the passer?
Right. He's the only one in the room right now.
He's got
Right now,
every
he stands
single snap. It's you, my guy.
Most, yes.
You are playing multiple positions. We're gonna have to clone you. I don't know who. That's my first come to mind because he's the only one left right now.
Go ahead, Hubs.
For me, I'm fascinated to see where a guy like Marion Dye.
There you go.
There you go. That was mine too.
Where does he factor in as ends? Because do they play bigger ends on both sides? How do they play the defensive end position in Jim Knowles' scheme? And look, I know how they played at Penn State. Do you play it that same way in the SEC? I don't know. I mean, those are things that you're going to deep dive in here once portal life slows down a little bit. Kind of look back at what he did at Oklahoma from a size standpoint, what he did at Penn State at a size standpoint. I just look at Marion Dye, and that body looks like it should help. It should be a real factor for Tennessee. So he would be the first one that probably pops off the page to me. I'm curious to see what this linebacker stuff looks like as well, and how Jim Knowles wants to play his linebackers. But Marion Dye is the first place I went.
Yeah, Dye was where I went to because Jim Knowles wanted him at Ohio State, and he chose Tennessee. Like Hobbs feels like the perfect defensive end in this scheme, but Tennessee has no defensive tackles right now. So the defensive line is so intriguing to me. Who's going to fit in where? Obviously Tennessee better, bring in some more, right? The whole defensive line thing is just so puzzling to me, and I'm intrigued by that. But I think Marion Dye's one because Jim Knowles was wanting him big time out of high school. A couple here from Nashville 615. Let's have the money conversation. We spent $25 million last year, and let's say it goes to $30 million. This is from the poster. Lots of complaining on the GQ about Vols' lack of funds compared to Texas Tech, Ohio State, Miami, A&M, etc. What's the gap between Tennessee and them? Do you expect those teams to be spending $40 to $50 million?
You don't know. There's no transparency. I mean, like there was all that chatter that Texas spent that crazy amount, and it just didn't materialize. I mean, like, you know, there was no proof that it actually happened. It was just a lot of conjecture and rumors. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Until there's transparency with this thing, until there's collective bargaining and everybody can see what everybody's spending and on spending on what. Like right now, it's just a big guessing game, and it's, you know, you get mated into this or that, and you know, you see what happens. Sometimes you can be the best offer, and a kid not want to come, and sometimes you can, you know, get beat out by a better offer. I mean, it works both ways.
Yeah, it works always. I mean, you sometimes you can just outbid somebody for a player. Sometimes you can outbid them and not get them, and sometimes you get outbid. I mean, the reality of it is this: whatever you spent last year, you're going to spend more next year, and whatever you spend next year, Grant, you're going to spend more in 2027 until somebody steps in and says, "Hey, you can't spend any more." But all anybody has done since rev shares come out is raised their level of expense of expenses, how much they're spending on their roster. That's all that's done. It has not curtailed anything at all. All it's done is made everything more expensive because everybody's working around all the NIL stuff with the third party deal, and that is not going to go away. And that's why Texas Tech, with some money, is throwing a bunch of money in the portal. I don't know what they're doing with the rest of their roster, but obviously they're spending some big money here and there on guys. I mean, we know Miami went big on some players. You know, so I mean, everybody's going, whatever you spent last year is going to be irrelevant to next year, and same moving forward. I think the rev share number is going to raise in terms of what you have to pay or what's expected to pay, and I think how much you spend in third party NIL money. There are going to be people just continuing to raise that number and basically try to essentially outprice everybody else out of business, or many people out of business if they can.
Wasn't the number this time a year ago with Ohio State $20 million? Like,
yes.
My goodness, can you believe they spent $20 million on this roster? Mm-hmm. And now Kentucky basketball probably has a $22 to $25 million basketball roster.
How's that working out for them?
I mean, that's how quickly we're moving here. And the difference for Texas Tech is they have a billionaire superfan who's funneling his money towards building a roster. And one of the last headlines I saw before I logged on here was Mark Cuban's going to start funneling some more of his money towards Indiana's NIL stuff. I mean, the difference in some of these is guys like that, but I mean, Indiana's difference is Curt Cignetti, obviously, most importantly. But I mean, you're headed towards that number fast because you see what's happened over the last calendar year. I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon.
Do you think there's a chance Tennessee will sign 15 to 20 portal guys?
Yeah, I mean, I you know, they're now at 2. I think you can get in definitely in that 12 to 15 range.
I think 20 is a little high. No, I think 20 is a little high, AP, in my opinion. But I think 12 to 15 is Tennessee needs to be at 12 to 15 with this roster.
Hey, everybody, want to tell you about Home Field Apparel, the exclusive apparel sponsor of Volquest.com. Football season's coming on, but basketball season, it is here. Baseball season, it is coming up, and if you want to be looking fresh going out to the Food City Center, Thompson-Boling Arena, Lindsey Nelson Stadium, the renovated stadium coming up this spring and a little bit of wintertime, then you need to check out homefieldapparel.com. You know, this football season, they put out these Can't Miss 2025 campaign where you can get these football boxes consisting of, you know, coaching jackets, bomber jackets, never before seen items for the University of Tennessee that are not available anywhere else. They're curated as well, so fans can wear all season long, no matter what venue you're going to, what time of the year it is. It's vintage college design. They sent me one, and my wife loves to wear this home field apparel stuff, the vintage Tennessee. We got a Pride of the Southland marching band shirt. We got Smokey shirt. Of course, some, SEC championship, national championship football shirts. They're so soft. They feel great. The hoodie I love. I mean, it's been a little chilly at points in times here in East Tennessee the last month or so, and I've worn that hoodie outside, just doing some work around the house. And gosh, it is so comfortable. It's got a big old Tennessee helmet on the back, the interlocking UT. Again, it's a vintage college design. Takes you back to the good times, right? And you should check it out as well. HomeFieldApparel.com to get started today for basketball season. Again, for anything coming up in the spring. And, of course, don't forget, for football season next year, that's HomeFieldApparel.com. How are the mods not extremely critical of high school first recruiting strategy? We've lost 57 scholarship players the last 3 years. That's not what development looks like. The portal needs to be more of a two-way street. I don't want to speak for every program in the country, but I mean, development's hard anywhere right now. I mean, you got guys that are sitting on your roster not wanting to play. I mean, we could do a deep dive and go look at recruiting classes, other teams in the Big Ten, the SEC, and I mean, I think it'd be similar. Now, Georgia retains a lot. Alabama retains a lot. Well, Alabama lost a lot as well with the coaching change. I just think this is not just a Tennessee problem. It's a college football problem. But to the poster's point, in terms of being more aggressive in the transfer portal and kind of trying to build your roster in that regard, yeah, I mean, that some teams do that and some teams are having success. There's a couple of college football playoff teams that have done that and they found success.
Well, you can go ahead.
No, for me, I think the bigger question is not the high school versus the portal in terms of numbers, but it's budget allocation, high school versus portal. How much money are you spending to sign players out of high school versus how much money you're spending to get players out of the portal and how much money you're spending on retention of high school players? Tennessee had a bunch of high school players help this football program last year, this past season. Wide receiver, linebacker, defensive line. There were a lot of places where they got high school help. Tight end, I know they had Kitzelman, but outside of that, those are high school kids. I think the question that becomes a much larger debate beyond Tennessee, but just college football in general, AP, is are things going to shift in terms of how much high school kids are getting, and that number changes or drops because people feel like they don't want to spend a bunch of money on the front end to maybe never get a return on that investment because they don't stay or maybe they don't turn out who you thought they would be, versus spending more money for a handful of players in the portal that you think would be more of an impact, more of a guaranteed lock to help. I think that's a much bigger, that's not just Tennessee. I think that is a college football, college basketball, college athletics debate more so than it is specific to Tennessee.
Yeah, to get some kids out of the high school ranks, it certainly costs. And to get the higher end players, it certainly costs. Now, it is cheaper, not everybody, okay, not everybody, but on the whole, it is cheaper to have roster retention and to keep your roster together than it is to go to the portal. So, like what you might get player X for to stay, to go replace would cost you more for maybe not even as good a player. So, thus,
that's a great point.
A fine balancing act. You have to balance it. Like it's going to cost some money, and you're probably going to put some money into some high school kids that may not be ready right away. But I would tell you, it also like to get just average players out of the portal. It costs more than going the high school route in some ways. So again, it's a balancing act. It's not an either or, as Hub said. It's not like, we'll just do portal from now on. I mean, sure, you could do that, but like you're also bringing in, in some ways, some mercenaries, some not, some are, but some just like to bounce around, and and that doesn't help your culture either. And again, I get it. I mean, there's a bunch of teams that are heavy portal that are in the college football playoff. Tennessee was in the college football playoff a year ago, and some of them just have an easier path. Some of it's cyclical. I don't think that I think there's more than one way to skin the cat. I think you can do it both ways, or somehow balance doing it both ways and do it at a high level. Tennessee does have to, I think, use the portal more than they have, and I think you're going to see that this year with the number of kids they bring in. I think it's going to be a lot more than it was a year ago.
Volunteered 87. Portal opens, and coincidentally, Rob bolts. Is he headed to Duke or to Kansas?
He's heading to a river, hopefully, with some waders and going trout fishing in his retirement. That's what I hope happens for him. I hope he finds his way to a river because he loves the water. He loves to fly fish. So hopefully he gets to do a whole lot of that when the weather gets better.
I heard river
Cameron Indoor.
I heard river and weights, and I thought Hubs was putting him in some concrete boots.
Waders, not weights.
Couple of portal questions here from the poster. Who is typically accompanying these kids on the 24-hour portal visits? An agent to facilitate the meaningful discussions, or is it just parents? Seems like a whirlwind if agents are representing multiple kids, all taking 2 to 3 visits over a span of 2 to 3 days.
Agents aren't taking visits unless they just have one client, unless the agent's the uncle or the brother or something like that. Most of the time, if it's a legitimate agent who has multiple clients, he's just working out of his office somewhere on the phone all the time. Right, AP?
That's absolutely correct. And a lot of these guys have a lot of different players, right? You know, they may have the defensive end at one school, the running back at another. They may have 2 running backs. And they're like, well, we're going to push this running back to this school, which means, hey, I know you inquired about this guy, but I've got this other guy right here, and we can push him to you. So, like, it's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of horse trading, so to speak.
And some kids come on a visit with nobody, families or whatever. Don't
the Vols kid, the Kansas safety, came here and he was by himself.
Yeah.
Unlike high school visits, you see guys shutting it down after the first visit. Are numbers figured out beforehand and the visit a formality, or why would players not want to take the additional visits to see some of the higher prices?
These kids are, these agents are requiring numbers to be talked about before kids ever step foot on campus. So they want to know before they ever waste their time, what's the offer?
And in some cases, the agent's telling the player when he goes on that visit, this is the highest number I can get for you is at this school. So if you want the most, you need to go to this school. Now, you can go see other schools, but this is the best financial offer I've been able to get you to this point. Now, do you want to play your hand and kind of roll the dice and see what happens, or do you want to go to this school? So, it's not anything like high school recruiting. It is not anything like it at all. The more you dive into the portal, it just they're completely opposite of each other.
Vol Fanatic 16, what are the Pruitt sanctions and when do they end?
There should be no more Pruitt sanctions if Jeremy Pruitt's allowed to go and be a coach. And if Tennessee's not fighting for that, then, that's on them. Like there should be no more sanctions. But in theory, there should be at least another year and a half, 2 years left on that thing. I mean, they've it feels like every 5 minutes they're doing a no contact with recruits week. Hey, Tennessee can't call this week. They'll call you next week. Like that type of thing.
I just got boxed out, Grant. AP just boxed me out before I could get on my soapbox. But it's exactly right. If Jeremy Pruitt's coaching in college football, why in the world would Tennessee feel obligated to follow any sanction that was placed on them because Jeremy Pruitt cheated in college football to get a show cause that's been lifted to say it's okay what you did, we forgive you for it? Why in the world would you go, well, we're not bringing any visitors this weekend in because that's what the NCAA said 4 years ago to do? Tell them to kick rocks. Okay, I got on the soapbox anyway. How about the back there, Grant?
The irony of this question following who said it, AP, the numbers are discussed before they ever step foot on campus. And this is what Pruitt got in trouble for, and now it's just completely wide out in the open.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny too, because again, what Jeremy got in trouble for is just hilarious. 5 years later, talk about some of these numbers. All right, DavyVol, level of surprise with Heupel, with how Heupel has approached the quarterback position this offseason. I already kind of touched on that a moment ago. Just kind of revisit that real quick, kind of how Heupel's gone about the quarterback spot here.
Well, it's an interesting. He's been in an interesting spot. I mean, they weren't getting Sorsby. Okay, I don't think that was ever going to happen. Levitt was another guy who was very high up on the list. He's visiting. I don't think. I don't think they were really interested in the Hoover kid from TCU. I don't think that was ever a viable option there. And then you got the Joey thing hanging out there. You had the the kind of the Ty Simpson thing for a couple of days there. And now you're circling back and you have a guy who everybody asked about the moment he announced he was going to transfer in terms of being one of their priorities is on campus right now. So it's a winding road that you just let it play out and see what happens. And that's kind of what we're doing right now is just seeing where it winds. I mean, what does the judge rule? I mean, that could change everything about it, about what Tennessee does at the quarterback position. Dante Moore might change everything about Sam Levitt's potential being at Tennessee. I mean, we all think they got to have somebody. Where's it going to be if it's not one of those two guys? That's a great question that I have no idea what the answer to is.
I mean, you've got so many moving pieces in the portal to begin with, and then you have the Joey, is he going to get an extra year, A, and then B, if he does get an extra year, does he want to come to Tennessee, back to Tennessee? C, what's his number going to be if he does come back to Tennessee? These are all the questions that you have to answer. Are you going to roll with your two young guys and try to get a backup? Can you get a backup to come here and be that third quarterback or number two or whatever? So it's not like it's not a difficult situation that they're in trying to figure out what's next.
And I think, too, it's not like you can sit here and wait on the whole Joey thing, say this thing prolongs for another week or two. Like, you can't wait, obviously. But it'd be a real shame, too, because though he would get a raise if he came back to Tennessee, that number is going to be significantly smaller than anything Sam Levitt's going to covet. Obviously,
right.
Sorsby, like some of these other quarterbacks. It's just, there's a lot of dominoes. It's really interesting. KoalaVol, how do you view the evolving landscape of roster construction, and does this current portal window continue to highlight the need for a true front office, meaning scouting, cap management, analytics, negotiation strategy?
Well, everybody has that. It's just what title do they put on it? I mean, everybody has a quote front office. Everybody has a scouting report. Everybody has somebody working numbers. Everybody has somebody who's dealing in negotiations things. I mean, those all exist. Do you have to have them? Yes. Do they have to get better? Do you have to, do you have to be effective? Do you have to make all the right decisions and do all those things? Yeah. Do you have to work with the collective? Do you have to be in accordance and walk in lockstep with things? I think you do when it comes to the portal. I mean, I think you absolutely do. And so, I just think that's going to continue, and I don't think that's going to stop. And I think those departments are only going to grow, Grant. I don't think there's any way, whatever sport it is in, I think the value of those departments are only going up each and every season that we go through this cycle.
1,000%. I would have as big a department as I could, or if it's not the number, you better have the right people in the right place. And I mean that department's going to be as important as any department on campus, because that's where you have to be right.
Athrun's got a couple of questions. First one, you stated that Jim Knowles wants bigger body defensive linemen. Does he use his defensive linemen to eat blocks to allow linebackers to shoot gaps and do most of the tackling? Or is he like all coaches that want bigger guys that are just as fast as the smaller guys? I mean, yeah, you want the most athletic, the biggest, the meanest, the toughest guy up front. If the defensive tackle can make all the tackles, good for him. Like, that's what you want. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I do think that, Brent, chime in here. I think that his defense and I haven't really dove down deep into it and watched a whole lot of tape on it, but I think it's a defense like many that allows linebackers to go out there and make some plays.
Well, I mean, yeah, you want your guys freed up to go make plays. I think he's aggressive. I mean, I think that's what you do. You want to get the biggest, fastest version of somebody you can get. Okay, I mean that's what you want. I mean, if you can get a wide receiver that's 6'2" and 210, and he runs better, or he runs the same as the guy who's 5'10", 170, you're going to take 6'2".
Hey, it's why Derrick Henry is the best.
Right. I mean, you're going to try to maximize speed with the biggest body you can get with that, and certainly that's what Jim Knowles wants to do. But again, Grant, life in this league's a little bit different than life in other places that he's been. How does he tweak it? How does he adjust? What does that look like? What does his defense look like if he's great in the back end? What does his defense look like if he's not as good in the back end, but he thinks he's better at the second level? I mean, you have to be able to be adaptable. And I think that's the one thing a year ago, Grant, Tim Banks was very adaptable to those two corners and built a lot around that. This year he didn't have them. I don't think they adapted as well to not having that as they should have, given what they had to deal with and the injuries they dealt with there.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't listen to a word of that because I was cracking up watching AP. If you're watching the YouTube, just wheel and deal on this cell phone while we're recording it. And his mouth's moving, but nothing's happening because he's muted. It looks like a Godzilla movie from the 60s. It's hilarious. We got to get him a second phone. Schefter gets 2 phones. AP gets 2 phones.
All right, it was a good answer, but we'll move on.
I've seen him answer the phone like 3 times during this podcast, and it's muted. But I see him say, "What's up, buddy?" Because that's how he answered. "What's up, buddy? What's up, buddy?" Here's a fun one. Another Rob one. There's plenty more Rob ones, but this will be the last Rob one we'll do here. Give me your best, most favorite Rob Lewis story. You can't use John Gruden, Larry Scott interview GIF. So what's a good Rob story? One of your favorite moments?
I'll go first because mine's probably more recent, and Hubs probably has a billion of them. But 2019, spring of 2019, right after Rick had flirted with UCLA and worked that for a pretty sizable raise, he had that press conference where he talked about flirting with that job or whatever, and he was getting a lot of money. And at some point near the end of the press conference, Rick made some kind of lighthearted joke about, like, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to need some more money or something. And Rob, just from behind me, goes, "My God, how much more do you need?" And it kind of caught Rick flat-footed a little bit.
There's a lot of stories that we could tell, at least from my end, the last 5-6 years. But when I think of Rob, I just think standing in the hallway, waiting for those press conferences, and him just saying something and just cackling, that Rob cackle. And you can hear it all the way down the indoor. I think it's just... I'm going to miss that cackle, being around that cackle every day.
I told Hubs last night what pushed him over the edge was me doing that fast break after the Gardner-Webb game wearing a Penguin Santa hat and a Michael Scott Christmas sweater.
I would agree.
I mean, I guess the best thing, and there's a ton of stories. Some of them I'll never tell. Some of them I probably can't tell. I mean, the best way to describe Rob for me is he was always the levity for me. Whenever I went, particularly early on when we were building this, and I went off the rails because we missed on something or we didn't get credit for something, or, you know, we should have been first or we wasn't first or whatever. And he would just always go, "Dude, man, it's going to be okay. like it's all good. Just relax. You're going to quit stroking out about everything. Like he was always that levity piece of like, I get what you're saying, but like, you got to understand, man, think big picture, think long term. He was always kind of that calm guy that just, he didn't get wound up the way, particularly early on, the way I got wound up when we were trying to make this thing get started and grow that way. So he was always a great piece of levity for me from that standpoint.
AP, you want to join?
Yes, I will miss Rob immensely. I will miss it was like Roscoe P. Coltrane. You know, he would just hit it, and and he would get tickled. And real Rob experience. 2004, we were in auxiliary media seating at the SEC championship game, which means we are not in the normal press box. We are in the end zone, and Gerald Riggs pops that run to start the second half down the one sideline, and Rob just goes, "Whoa, AP," and just smacks me, and I'm like, "Jeez," And so, I mean, there you go.
And we'll miss the Shane Beamer references, and we'll miss Kentucky references, and
the Butch Jones references,
Butch Jones references for sure.
And we'll miss car rides with Rob of him weaving in and out at 100 mile an hour.
Late night car rides were always entertaining. That's for sure.
Lindsey Nelson Stadium looked to be on track to be done by first pitch.
Yes, they did. For the last 5 months, they've not had water, they've not had Wi-Fi, nothing of that over there at the baseball stadium. But there's some. It sounds like this thing's going to be fairly good to go. I mean, I don't know if it's like going to be totally built out, but I think it's going to be pretty much complete when they get the first pitch. And you never know. A few little tweaks to the uniform there, Kane coming. I think little tweaks to the overall baseball experience.
I think from a fan standpoint, you're going to have the full experience. I don't think you're going to be there now. Will everything behind the scenes be completely done? Will there be some challenges for event management to get everything produced and done the way that you want to? Sure, that's going to be the case. But I do think when you get there and as a fan you go in, I think you're going to get the full experience. They've got to finish some brickwork down the third baseline and get that scaffolding going. There's some stuff at the players' interest that still has to be done, and they're working feverishly on the suites. But I think from a fan experience standpoint, they will be tightly right where they need to be, I guess, to start opening day. I don't know that everything will be completely buttoned up at that moment. There'll be some stuff done probably the next couple of weeks after that, but they'll be pretty close.
I was walking to G16 from the arena, so I was passing like the General Neyland statue at the football complex, and it was dark, and I looked over the football field, practice field, and I thought, what is that on the other side of the practice field? I was like, what building is that? Oh, no, never mind, it's a baseball stadium. It looks like a spaceship landed over there. That's a compliment. Like, it's so just, your eyes have to adjust to what kind of stadium's over there.
It's going to be nice. I'm really excited about sitting indoor in the middle of February whenever baseball season starts.
I think you should cover it outside. I don't want you to get spoiled.
The window for the press box is not going to be in time, so you'll have to cover the months of February and March with an open air. But after that,
yeah, I'm not sure the HVAC is going to be ready to go for you there, Eric, either. So you might want to bundle up for the first couple of weeks.
Keep the plexiglass where it's at. We'll be okay.
Hopefully those dead mice from the Lindsey Nelson press box back in the day make it over to the new press box.
By the way, I love everybody, but I just realized I'm going to be late for picking my kid up at school, so I got to go.
Tell them it's portal season.
Yeah. Hey.
All right, get out of here.
See ya.
We'll have Grant mute his mic every 5 seconds in your absence. All right.
Like, sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you got to talk to recruits.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. Let's do a little basketball here. You two basketball reporters here at Volquest.com. At what point,
Grant Ramey. Defer all questions to Grant Ramey. Thank you very much.
At what point will Barnes have to start Amari Evans, or is he better coming off the bench?
I don't think at any point you have to start Amari Evans. I think you love Jacoby Gillespie and what he's given you. I think you really like Bishop Boswell and what he's given you. I don't think it matters who starts. I don't think Rick cares who starts. It's who plays the starter minutes. It's who plays the last 5, 6, 7 minutes of the game, closing time, winning time. Amari's been great the last couple of weeks. I would just keep on doing what you're doing with him. Let him keep developing. Let him see the game a little bit. I know Lamonte Turner back in the day when he was a sixth man, he used to talk about he liked to see the first 3 minutes of the game play out and kind of get his own little scout on the bench and then come off the bench and affect the game that way. I think a lot of guys benefit from that, so I would just keep on with him where he is.
Grant, are you surprised Dwayne Brown appears to be just a lock for the lineup for the starting lineup?
No, kind of for the same reason. I think Rick rewarded him when he did give him that spot for the consistency that he had shown and the progress that he's made and all that stuff. And I think it's, against Texas, you had guys coming off the bench, multiple forwards coming off the bench, I think at like the 16:30 mark. So it's not making a huge difference as long as you don't get off to too slow of a start. I think you're fine keeping him where he is and letting your rotation just kind of continue where it is.
How much does, say, the position coach versus the coordinator versus the head coach have in determining targets, either in the portal or high school recruiting, or does it depend on which position coach it is? What's the strategy there for certain positions from coach to coordinator to head coach?
I think it depends on who the position coach is. I think it depends on where the coordinator's comfort level is with that position coach. I would think right now Jim Knowles is very hands-on in what Tennessee is doing at linebacker and defensive line. He probably yields to Anthony to Poindexter a little bit more because I think they're, even though they've only been together for a year, there's a lockstep there. So there's probably a different conversation there than maybe there is as you try to build out the type of player you want, physically on the defensive front. On the offensive side of the ball, I don't think Joey Halsley is probably stepping in telling Glenn Ellerby what he thinks an offensive lineman should be. But I think there's other positions that Joey Halsley has a big say in. And I think offensively, Josh Heupel obviously has a huge say, whereas maybe defensively right now, certainly he's yielding a little bit more to Jim Knowles on the defensive side. So I think it varies. I don't think there's an absolute one way or the other.
Yeah. And two, the more you're in the system, the more you get more free reign, especially if you're a young guy. Like Al Gabelin knows exactly what his room should look like right now. But early on, Alex Golish when he was here, obviously, but Josh Heupel knows the tight end that he wants for his system, and he kind of help in that regard. I'm just using him as an example, but obviously he's done a really good job at recruiting the tight end position. Let's go to Southerner 98. With Danny White doubling down on the Neyland Entertainment District, do you expect there to be some way to connect that area with the rest of downtown.
Only if they put some kind of tramway or like you
gondolas. Disney World.
What's that thing that you have in Disney World?
We just lost our foremost Disney expert / portal expert.
It's not a chairlift. What do you call those things that go on the tram? It's the little tram boxes. I mean,
gondola. I don't know. People mover, something.
I mean,
like that.
I mean, there's no way.
I mean, technically, there's a river walk on Neyland Drive that connects from the arena. If you want to cross Neyland and go by Calhoun's, and then there's a pedestrian bridge back across Neyland that'll take you up, the side of the hill there at the
City County,
across the street from City County building. So technically, if you wanted to hike it, you could hike it.
If they're doing this, they better do that for across the river, because the 1 year I lived across the river, if Gay Street Bridge was closed, driving across that at 4:30 in the morning would have made just brutal. I would have hated it. So for all the people in Sono, if they're doing this, they better do one for across the river as well. Let's go to Randy G77. What would you say the following players would be above or below the line for being in the 2-deep or regular rotation next year? He's got 5 guys listed, and we'll play this game, but I do want to point out, I mean, it's so hard right now, especially if you're like coming off of a redshirt season, to know, because spring hasn't happened. Like, this is a really good question to ask after spring ball because but anyway, Gabriel Ascenda, to be in the 2-deep, above the line. I mean, he'll be a backup tackle, right?
Yes, but he would be the 4th tackle, and whoever the 3rd tackle is probably going to be a swing guy, right? I mean, so if the right tackle got hurt, okay, let's say the Williams kid from LSU is transferring in as your right tackle. He gets hurt, you're probably kicking Jesse Perry out to right tackle. Okay, if something happened to David Sanders, you're probably flipping Williams to left tackle, and you're probably kicking Jesse Perry out to right tackle and plugging a guard in there because you probably feel better about that. So technically, yes, I think he would be in the 2-deep, but that doesn't mean he would necessarily jump in and play immediately. Now, he might. It depends on what it looks like when you get into fall camp and go that way. I mean, but you could certainly see a scenario where he would be the 4th tackle with the 3rd tackle being able to play, with Jesse Perry being able to kick out because you would flip the other 2 however you need to based on what their availabilities were.
On that note, Jeremiah's Hurd, I would assume probably below. But again, spring hasn't happened yet.
I got to see him. I mean, we got him play. I mean, they haven't put him on the field. I mean,
and that's why it's so hard to answer these questions.
Yeah, I mean,
like Nick Moore, I don't know. I have no clue.
I mean,
he needs a backup center.
I mean, he should be the backup center,
yeah.
I would think. But do they rep Wendell Moy at backup center this year? Do they rep him in the spring at center? Because that's what you're trying to get your best 5 in. And quite frankly, Wendell's best NFL opportunity might be at the center position and instead of guard. I don't know. I mean, there's, we'll see.
At that point, let's just let Jesse Perry do it all. Let's let him snap the football.
I don't think he play it. I said Wendell. I didn't say Jesse. I'm not saying Jesse at center. I'm
saying Jesse at center.
I'm just wondering if you're Wendell Moy, do you want some center reps on the practice field? Do you want to be able to show that? Because how much more valuable does that make you as an NFL draft pick at some point? I don't know. And the ultimate goal is to get your best 5 on the field, whatever that looks like.
And this best 5 would incorporate Sham coming in because Sham started, 7-8 games for Tennessee.
Now, coming out of spring practice, Grant, going into fall camp, maybe Nick Moore is one of your best 5. I mean, nobody had Jesse Perry in the best 5 when spring practice started last year.
There's going to be no lack of questions to figure out once spring does get here. Once we do get on the other side of this portal window and there's an actual roster somewhat in place at least.
Cole Harrison, I would say probably below. I think he's had chances, and he's been passed by the 2 freshmen, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got 3 in front of him with Ethan Davis and Van Doorslayer and Deshaun Brame. Now, is Brame going to be a tight end? Is he going to stay at slot where they finished with him? Blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, it feels like to me that there's 3 ahead of Cole Harrison right now.
Trey Poteet, 1,000% right now above the line. We'll see.
He's a starter right now. He's a starter right now, as he is, because you don't have anybody else out there. So I'll circle back to that one after the portal world closes out and see what they get.
And, on Wednesday, one of Tennessee's top cornerback targets is committed to, Virginia Tech. So we'll see how all that plays out. A couple more here from Crayon. How wild is it a college football player could be making more to stay another year versus turning pro?
Man, go ahead, Grant. I mean, that's the system.
It's minor league football, so it is what it is. Like, some guys are going to be more well positioned at this level than they are taking a chance as a later round draft pick at the next level.
Yeah. Who was the last walk around defensive coordinator for Tennessee?
Tim Banks.
Well, before him.
Monty Kiffin. There's submitted somebody since then. Wilcox Wilcox kind of coached a position, right? Did he?
I'm about to become a walk around Volquest staff member. I'm just gonna walk around. I ain't gonna do nothing.
I just walk around in circles and don't get anywhere where I get. I guess technically Sal Sinceri that was a bad walk around. He did walk in circles legitimately. Never walked a straight line to get anything accomplished.
What about Shoop?
Shoop, yeah, maybe Bob Shoop factors in there. Yeah, I guess Shoop maybe. I don't know.
Walked around eating ice cream.
There's been a lot of them come through here, so I don't know the great answer to that question. I mean, I guess Pruitt was technically a walk around coordinator until he decided to coach a position after he fired somebody in the middle of the season, right?
He was a walk around coordinator who was a head coach that decided to coach the
middle of a season or middle of a game or both.
Middle of the game. I will say this: all I know and all you need to know about Jeremy Pruitt, in all seriousness, and I do mean this as a compliment. If you're bored sometime in the offseason, go back and watch the game that they won at Auburn and watch Jeremy Pruitt on the sideline.
He's coaching the corners.
Dude called every play Auburn was running that game. Like, he knew what Auburn, because when he got the job at Alabama, one of the things he was tasked with by Nick Saban was to figure out Gus Malzahn, because that system was giving them problems. He knew that system by like the back of his hand and every tendency. I mean, he told guys what was coming almost every play, which is why Tennessee was able to win that football game. It was crazy to watch.
And what did he say afterwards? It's always a good day when you win it. Auburn.
At Auburn.
He was the Tony
We've
Romo.
also lost our chief most Pruitt impersonator.
No, we can't. Yeah, he's on a
the kid does it all. Disney, Pruitt, Portal.
And allegedly had to pick up his kid. So we'll see.
Allegedly.
What's your favorite burger topping?
I
can answer this for AP. Nothing.
Well, I'm the most boring plain Jane. I'd rather just have a burger with cheese, lettuce, tomato. Like, my wife and I go to Stock and Barrel. They have 1,000 different burger combinations and 1,000 different options, and I'm just like, give me a burger with cheese, lettuce, and tomato. And she's sitting there like rolling her eyes, like, what are you doing?
I'll hold the tomato, but I'll go that way. You can throw some bacon on there if you want, but I'm indifferent on the bacon.
Same way with tacos. Just give me cheese, lettuce, tomato. I don't need 47 different things in there.
I can throw some guacamole and different things on the taco, make that happen. To me, you can't put enough stuff on the burger. I can go chili, I can go jalapenos, I can go with an egg.
I was gonna say put an egg on there and I'll eat it.
I mean, whatever. I mean, I'm fine with throwing more stuff on a burger. Just keep throwing some stuff on there. Something will work, something might not work, but just keep throwing something on there.
If AP was gonna put bacon on his burger, it would have to be
extra crispy. It would have to be crispy.
Extra crispy, yeah. Haven't heard any news on Mike Matthews. Is he locked in for next year?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, the portal's not closed, so anything can happen. But yeah, I expect him to be back.
Anything can happen. Which positions had the highest NIL money on average? My guess at the top 5 in order would be quarterback, offensive tackle, defensive end, edge rusher, wide receiver, running back, cornerback. I think he's got the right positions. I would drop running back, put cornerback in front of that. Quarterback's at the first, then maybe you go edge after that. But I think it's quarterback one. Then I think it's offensive tackle or edge, and then maybe a big play wide receiver after that.
I think go ahead.
I think he nailed it with the positions. You can argue the order, but what they say: quarterbacks and who protects quarterbacks and who gets after quarterbacks all get paid. And then after that, he referenced skill positions. So I think he nailed it.
Yeah, I would take running back out of that equation and put cornerbacks in there because I think the value of cornerback, being able to shut down and play, play a true cover corner and be a shutdown guys, those guys are getting paid well.
Yeah. Need them to form a football team, but running backs, linebackers, safeties, guards, centers more so than guards. they're not in this conversation. Defensive tackles, not in this conversation. Over under 4.5 portal commits by next Monday.
I don't know. I thought they were going to get the kid, the white kid from the defensive back from Troy, who just went to Virginia Tech. So, I mean, if you'd have asked me that 25 minutes ago, I'd have probably taken the over. But I don't know. I mean,
if you would have asked me about White an hour ago, I would have said yeah, because I wrote the story for it. But
so anything can happen.
I'm going to say over, and I'm going to preference it by saying I have no idea, but just for the general collective sanity of the general's quarters and the people that moderate the general's quarters, please get some commitments.
Yeah,
please.
On that note, I think it's hilarious that people are like, oh, the mods don't like Tennessee. Eric Kane doesn't like Tennessee. Like, I'm praying it's over 4.5. Please.
It better be over 4.5.
Please.
Tell me where to send the check. Tell me where to send the check.
All right. We'll end with this one. We're about an hour here. Why does there seem to be a sense that George McIntyre can't be the guy next year? Felt like spring and summer. The reporting was that he was the most gifted quarterback.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody's thoughts on his ability has changed. There's obviously been talked about ad nauseum about where his weight level is. Is he big enough? Is he durable enough? Then there's also just the reality of the fact that you would go into an important season next year, a very important season, coming off a disappointing year in which you got routed at home to Vanderbilt and you faded down the stretch, and you would be playing this schedule next year with a guy that has virtually zero experience in college football. None. And it's all fine to say that until it becomes a reality. And when it becomes a reality of that, then it becomes like, wait a minute, is everybody really comfortable with this? That we're not going to go get anybody else, that we're going to put all of our eggs in a basket for a guy who played in 2 games?
2
games this year?
Yes.
I mean, I think sometimes, Grant, it's just the reality of it creates the doubt and the question more than somebody deciding he doesn't have ability or the weight's this. It's just the magnitude of the reality that, hey, we're going to turn the football program over. And what was the old Butch Jones line? Your hopes, dreams, and aspirations. You're going to turn your hopes, dreams, and aspirations over to a guy who's played in 2 college football games, and they were all meaningless snaps.
There's also a Butch saying that the starting quarterback at Tennessee was a global position. Some guy in a third world country somewhere is wondering if GMac or Faizon are the Fields. I think it's the unknown. I think it's the unknown. It puts hesitation in your head and worry. I mean, in April, who knew what Joey Aguilar was? He was just the guy that was available, so Tennessee took him, and you didn't know what to expect. And I think that's also part of the problem now is you went to the portal and you just found a 3,500-yard passer sitting there that was great for the system, and you went from in April thinking you don't have a quarterback and this is going to be a pretty bad year, rebuilding, whatever, to in October. I mean, you're starting November with college football playoffs still on the line before that Oklahoma game. So it can change fast, but it's just the uncertainty. I mean, GMac could be the guy and play like Joey did and be the guy for the future, and all could work out well. You just don't know. The uncertainty is there, the doubt, the unknowns of it all. Yeah,
right there, you mentioned it, and that's why the quarterback conversation is so intriguing for me because, like, say Sam Levitt, when he's leaving campus, he wants to jump in. You take him. 100%, you take him. Okay, that's not up for discussion, but he's going to be pricey. Joey Aguilar,
he's going to miss spring practice.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I was going to bring that up earlier. He's got that foot injury.
He's not going to learn the system on the field hands on.
True. But like Joey Aguilar, you think if he gets another year, if you still don't have a quarterback, like, please, come on. Absolutely. In fact, that'd be the preference for a lot of Tennessee fans, right? Because second year in the system and see what he did this year. Ty Simpson, I mean, that was fun to kind of talk about for a couple of days. If he were to come back to school, enter the transfer portal, Tennessee would have been a very likely destination point just based on his upbringing. Of course, that's not happening. He's going to the pros. If all those things don't happen, going back to what Grant said, you just saw what Tennessee did with a Sun Belt quarterback last year. Like, go find one of those guys. And I'm not saying you're going to duplicate success or anything like that, but go find one of those guys, pay considerable amount, like less amount of money, like $2 to $3 million less than what you pay for a guy like Levitt, and bring him in here to compete with a GMac and a Faizon. He's got experience, sure. If he wins, great. If not, then, hey, maybe your 5-star quarterback won the job and you roll into that. Like, it's just so interesting to me. Like, I'm not saying, like, again, Tennessee got to have a quarterback, most important guy on the field. But like in the era of the portal, if you do miss out on a Levitt this week or Aguilar doesn't get, his year or whatever, there's still going to be some options that can turn out to be okay down the line, in my opinion. Now, it's got to click, but there's going to be some options.
Well, I think that's why you go back to the question the guy asked earlier, and that is, what is Josh Heupel's plan? Because we're sitting here hashing all this out, but what does he want to do? And it doesn't feel like any of us have, and I know I don't, but it doesn't feel like there's a clear definition on what that plan is. It wasn't just out of the gate, go pay whatever for whomever. Just go get the guy. Okay. Now you got the Joey thing factoring in there. Now, is there another? Well, if you're going to go the route you're talking about, Eric, at the end, why didn't you go ahead and go get a guy? Old Dominion guy or whoever else is out there, James Madison or whatever. Why haven't you done that?
Maybe, I was going to say, maybe your guy hadn't entered the pool
And
yet.
so now you're sitting there going, okay, what's the plan? And my answer to you is, I don't really know.
Yep.
The good news for Josh is unless you have a 3,500-yard, 30-touchdown guy next in the fall, whatever decision you made was wrong.
Yeah.
Whoever you got out of the portal was wrong. Whoever, if you named GMac the starter, wrong. If you gave this guy this much money, wrong. Like that's the good thing. There is no hindsight is 2020. Well, I guess it is all hindsight is 2020 because that's the joy of the world we live in, where everybody has a price tag and you got to make these kind of decisions with so much moving pieces and trying to figure out what's best for your program.
As Austin has mentioned, Tennessee's been talking to Sam Levitt for over a week, so it was not going to be real at all until we got to campus. We'll see how that visit goes. But again, the most interesting and important question of the offseason, as Brent kind of said, still don't know. I guess we'll find out, but hopefully the next couple of days will be fruitful for Tennessee in the transfer portal. A lot of guys on campus. A lot of guys have been to campus. A lot of guys are set to come to campus. We're doing our best to kind of reset that, taking all the notes from Brent and Austin and kind of putting them all together and, having a story out there in the morning, kind of keep everybody up to date on what's going on. And, Austin and dropping news and nuggets on the journalist quarters each and every single day. And there's no better time if you're not with us at Volquest.com to link up with us right now. You get a bundle deal on 3 rivals, Volquest. You've got access to The Athletic for a year, 50% off right now. Come join us at Volquest.com. It's, in terms of news, there's not a better time to join us than right now. And, of course, it'll carry on with you throughout the year. Basketball, baseball, and football season that'll be here before you know it, coming up at the end of August. For Brent Hubbs, Grant Ramey, Austin Price, Adam Schefter, I'm Eric Kane. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Volquest Mailbag Podcast as Brent Hubbs takes his phone call here.